Hello, 30-3s. Tough unit to do online, I find, because there's a lot of discussion that could be going on when we talk about pros and cons and the cost with a car. You guys have some different perspectives than I would. Be nice to share, but we can't. So hopefully you're putting some thought into these lessons. You're putting some thought into these lessons and not just writing down what I do. When I ask and talk about something, hopefully you're thinking about it a bit. Well, the second half to this is owning and running a small business. And you guys, as graduation nears, have the opportunity to try to get jobs, be your own owner. And when we talk about owning and running a small business, the examples in here, some of them I think are really good, some of them I think are a little bit too grandiose. We're not talking about starting a store and bringing in $10,000 in product and stuff, but legitimately, you want to start your own little small business, whatever that is. And I've had some interesting things said by students over the years. I think about simple things like lawn care. I think about things like snow removal in the winter or spring or fall. Students have talked about being a nail esthetician, I believe is the correct term. I apologize if it's not. I'm just going to say nails. Or even just doing people's hair. The talent is amazing. Small business. You know what? Do you want a tutor? Maybe having a proper small business plan to be a tutor is going to pay off instead of just winging it. So that's what I talk about when I'm talking small business. I'm not talking about big, open a storefront and everything. So today we're going to talk about the fact that there are startup costs for a new business owner. And the thing is there are expenses required before you can start a business. You unfortunately have to spend a bunch of money before you can start to collect money in a lot of situations because of your startup costs. So, what are some potential startup costs for a new business owner? Now again, you might have some things to add to this, but things that I think about. You need whatever it is. You need fixtures. Fixtures being tables, chairs, if it's going to be some kind of a situation like lawn care. Your fixtures would be a mower, snow removal, your shovels, nails. Maybe you want a proper table and chair for clients to sit at, not just a chair at a kitchen table. So there's fixtures. There's supplies. The supplies would be, maybe there's things, when I think of supplies, I think of what we call consumables. There are things that you do and they get used, like with lawn care. Maybe you're actually going to do some fertilizing. Fertilizer doesn't last. How much are you going to have to buy in a supply for fertilizer? Doing work with nails, obviously the polish remover, things that you have to use but aren't going to last a long time. Maybe you have to do some work to actually create the space that you're going to be working in if you want to do some things from home in terms of nails or hair. Maybe the downstairs you have a small little room but you want to paint it, make it look a little nicer, create space. The other thing, how do you get clients with all this? Well, maybe you're going to have to spend some money with advertising. All of these are things that you need to spend money on before you even start to bring money in. Now, once you're up and running, maybe you somehow were able to get through the startup costs, you started your business. Well, now, when your business is up, you have costs for maintaining your business, operating costs, things that are consistently having to be done. Well, maybe you have to pay rent. Maybe if you're doing hair in the basement of your house, your parents are going to say, hey, you want to know something? You're using space here. We want a small amount. That's not unfair. Maybe you're going to have some staff if you're going to do some lawn care. Maybe you hire a friend. Like I said, operating costs, your supplies and consumables. Supplies and consumables, again, you need them at the start, but if they're consumables and get used up, you have to keep replacing them. Advertising. Well, the best advertising is word of mouth. But starting a new business, you have to maybe do some advertising continually till you can get enough of a client base. Maybe there's like services supplied to you, water, power. You're doing something out of your home and your parents say, you know what? You're using up water and power for this business. We want a little bit of money to help cover those costs. All of these, and there's many more I'm sure you could think of possibly that could get added on to that. But it's things to think about. Now, before you do start in with a business, there's some things you got to think about. Is the business right for you? I mean, are you going to commit to it and stick to it even if it gets difficult? That's what you have to decide. Don't do something, oh, it pays big money. Do you like it? No, you're not going to stick with it. Is it going to be profitable? Don't do something because you love it so much. Are you going to make any money? No, but I love it. And then it's good, it's fun, but it's not really beneficial. And where are your potential customers or clients going to come from? Are there enough of them in the area where you're setting up? All these little things need to be thought about when you're starting up a small little business. Let's take a look at a couple examples. Example 1, 2 different city demographics. You want to start up a tutoring service for kids in grades 1 to 9. Well, here, this is old data, but it's legit. I mean, it's not stuff that's totally obscure. Sherwood Park, at the time, almost 70,000 residents. St. Albert, just over 60,000 residents. Now, we want to do a tutoring service for kids grades 1 to 9. So we're looking basically at this group. This data isn't important to us right now. Don't get distracted by it. Well, which place would be better to start? Well, if there's 68,782 people in Sherwood Park, and you multiply that by 17% or 0.17, well, 17% of the 68,000 is 11,693, and that kids 0 to 14, well, obviously 0 to 14, not everyone would need a tutor, but we can see there are several thousand people that could possibly require a tutor. St. Albert, 61,466 times the 0.18 at that point. Well, that one works out to be 11,064. So between the two, there's a few more potential clients in Sherwood Park, but is there really any difference? No. So which place would be better? You know, the data here tells me personally, you know what, they're probably both going to have a similar clientele. There's not an advantage to either one. Maybe you can think of some advantages. Example 2, Harpreet is starting a recycling business in his city. Can you think of 5 things that Harpreet would need to consider startup costs? So he hasn't started yet. What's he going to need if he wants a recycling business? Now, recycling business, what exactly does that mean? I got to be honest with you. It could mean all kinds of different things. Personally, I think of it in terms of cans and bottles. That's what I'm thinking in terms of starting up a small business as a student for a recycling business. What are things that Harpreet would need? Well, where would those costs come from? Again, similar to our earlier list, a space. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he's going to do it in his garage and it won't cost him anything, but possibly a space. Or even setting it up. Because as much as he needs a space, he would need some tables and things to work on probably. So that's a possible cost. The one thing, recycling business, he's going to need some money up front because if he's going to take people's recycling, he's going to have to pay them for it. So he needs some money up front just available to give people for their recyclables. He might need some bins for organizing or some form of organizational strategy that he's going to work with. Again, talked about it earlier, advertising. He needs people to know. Now, advertising doesn't have to mean it's radio or TV. It could be just getting some signs made up to put around the community. but that's a cost. Are there any tools involved with this? I'm not sure, but maybe there's some specific tools he would need to help with this. What about, I'm going to say uniforms, but uniforms could also extend. What would you want if you're doing a recycling business? Uniforms, maybe you want some coveralls, just because it could be probably a bit of a dirty, sticky. I mean, gloves. You got to get some multiple gloves for that. Do you need eyewear? I don't know. All these things, uniforms, things that you're wearing. So there's a list of some different costs Harpreet would need. Now, people would argue that they're not all going to be necessary. I agree. But it's things you want to think about because, oh, this will be great. But you got to start somewhere and be organized. Example 3. Below is a list of startup costs for Azeel's Hair Emporium. What are Azeel's total startup costs? So here's all the startup costs. First month's rent, got to pay that up front. Haven't brought any money in, $1,100. Going to get 2 styling chairs, so 2 clients at a time. Hair washing chairs and sinks, 2 of those. Mirrors, cabinets, desks. There's all that information in terms of the space and tables and fixtures that I was talking about. Towels and capes, necessary. Washer and a dryer, got to keep all the materials and towels and things they use clean. Cash register and debit machine. A business license, haven't even talked about that. Licensing, you want to be taken seriously? There's that. And again, something that I think of, insurance. Well, insurance is something to think about. If something goes wrong and someone wants to blame you, you want to make sure that you have some insurance if they can win the argument that you've wrecked something of theirs. So the total startup costs for what Azeel had identified, if you add all this up, $6,356 before any money's brought in. Now, Azeel has $5,100 saved, so does he have enough? No, he's short money for startup. What could he adjust to his startup cost to get closer to his savings? So there's the realistic kicking in. What can you do to your startup cost to say, you know something? What are we going to do? Take a look at that list. What do you think could be done? Well, for me, maybe go to a used washer and a dryer. Doesn't have to be new. Safer to go new, warranty and things, but probably don't have to spend anywhere near $1,500 if you get something a little older. Towels and capes, $575. To me, that seems like a lot. Maybe you get fewer, so you have to do more of the washing, possibly. Hair washing, chairs and sinks. Well, if you've got 2 styling chairs, the most clients you have is 2, is it really so bad if we cut that one back to just 1 washing chair and sink? And maybe you won't always be able to have someone get their hair washed right away. They might have to wait a couple minutes. That wouldn't be horrible. So you can see how once you make a plan, sometimes sacrifices have to be made, but I think Azeel could probably get it down with a little creativity. Just things to think about if you were starting a business. Example 4, Morticia starting a house cleaning business. House cleaning business is kind of nice because you don't really need a lot of space yourself because you're going to other people's houses. She saved $1,900 and estimates her startup costs as follows. So she's going to buy a vacuum, brooms and mops, cleaning supplies, buckets and other supplies. She needs a business license as well, and some advertising signs. All right. Startup costs. Does she have enough money saved to do this? At this point, she has $1,370 saved. Sorry, not saved. Has she saved enough? She has that in costs. Sorry about that. And what is the difference between her savings and her startup cost? She actually says She has saved 1,900. She has about 1,400 in costs, so she has enough, which is good. And in fact, she's got about $530 extra. Extra is good. Personally, for me though, when I look at this, I don't know, do you need to buy an $875 vacuum? I don't know. I haven't had to buy a vacuum ever. It was a wedding present for me. What are some other startup costs that Morticia should consider in her expenses? Is there something she's missed? That $530. Well, these aren't just my answers, but some startup costs. Well, if you're traveling to other people's homes, there might be some transportation costs that you need to deal with. Maybe you need to buy transportation to have all this stuff lugged around with you. A student, I thought it was brilliant. A phone, or more like a cell phone. I mean, if you're working in different people's homes, people can't get a hold of you easy. Well, there's a cost. And if it's a business cost, that could be an advantage. Insurance, like I mentioned earlier, for me, insurance is important because sometimes people just make poor decisions and they blame you. You want to make sure you're covered. But other than that, she's dealt with the advertising signs. I don't know, maybe to look professional. Maybe she wants to buy some uniforms, something as simple as the same tops for all of herself, and if she has people working for, just so it looks professional. That could be a possibility. You just don't know what people might think, but those are all possible. Other startup expenses. And the last one, example 5. Boris is opening up a pet sitting business running out of his acreage. He estimates $5,800 in startup costs because he's going to add animal pens. He needs a permit for having the animals. Lots of supplies needed in terms of food and things for the animals. He has $1,700 saved, and at his current job, he can save $430 a month. So how long will it take him until he has the full amount? Being able to work with numbers and understand this and how long it takes you to make a certain amount of money. This is something you want to consider. So in this case, if we total up his costs are $7,250. He has $1,700 only right now. So he's short some money. How much is he short? Well, he still needs $5,500 more. Sorry, $5,550 more. $5,550 more. So he has his startup costs taken care of to make sure when people show up, it looks good. Because if it looks good, people will recommend. So the question is, how long will it take him? He doesn't want to have to take out a loan, but he wants to know how long it's going to take. Well, he has $5,550 to collect still. So that means the $5,550, if we divide it by $430 extra a month. Every month he can put $430, so that $5,550 divided into $430 chunks, well, that works out to be 12.9. So it will take 12.9 months, or about 13 months, if all goes according to plan, to have enough. So he's got a plan. He knows, he's worked out his costs. He has to wait over a year to have enough to make his plan occur. So does he take out a loan, or does he just wait 13 months till it can happen? Another decision. Take out a loan, well, you can start earlier, but it's going to cost you more. Instead of just using your money, the bank's going to take a percentage. What might be other additional costs that Boris should consider when he's starting his business? Well, what hasn't he thought about? Now, $1,200 for supplies, that's pretty general. You know what I'm going to say right off the bat. Insurance. Well, you're taking care of someone else's pets. I mean, those are your babies. I get that. So you don't want to have a situation where you're accused. You want to be able to cover it. Costs that might occur from that. Again, there's no talk here about advertising. How would people even know to call Boris? Well, some advertising would be beneficial for him. Anything else you can think of? For me, talked about it earlier, well, a phone and a cell. He wants to be able to answer quickly, get back to people, because he's going to be inside, outside, it says, with the animals, so people can get in touch with them. I don't know exactly what 1,200 for supplies means. It's pretty broad, but this is just thinking. You have startup and operational costs when you run a business. And to start a business, as simple as it is, as simple as the business might seem, oh, it's not a big deal. If you can get yourself organized, oh, then you have ideas. You know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Set some goals for how much you're going to make and how you can improve and expand. But it takes a little bit of thought. So, with that being said, not a real tough assignment. Can you please complete page 19 to 21? And again, my booklet posted on the Google site, the Google Class site, has solutions for those, my thoughts. But again, like I said, with this unit, sometimes you might have a little bit different opinion, and that's okay. We can always chat at a Google Meet if you have questions. Have fun.